4 large onions. I like to use a good sweet yellow onion or a white onion, which is really sweet, right into the melted butter. The onion's coarsely chopped. Saute this until it's translucent, just a couple of minutes. When you're making stuffing, it's really a good idea to have all the ingredients prepared ahead of time. After about 2 minutes, add 16 stalks of celery that have been finely chopped. You know, stuffing tends to keep the bird nice and plump looking, and the stuffing really is enhanced by roasting it inside the bird. There's a lot of talk about the dangers of stuffing a bird and roasting it with the stuffing in it, but if you're very careful and don't stuff the bird until right before you're ready to roast it, and that the stuffing and the bird are the same temperature, you really don't have to worry. Continue cooking the celery and the onion for about 5 minutes. Then add 10 sage leaves that have been cut up. These are fresh sage leaves. Add about 2 teaspoons. Let that cook 5 minutes. And don't forget, while you're preparing the stuffing, to prepare a basic turkey stock using the giblets and the neck of the turkey with a little bit of white wine, onion, carrot, and celery. And let that cook for a couple hours. That's going to be the moisture that you add to the stuffing. And now we can get 2 pounds of the most delicious white bread or peasant bread that you can find. And this we call country bread from our local store in Westport called Heyday. 2 pounds cut into good-sized cubes. I'd say a little bit more than an inch cubed. Now this looks perfect. It's a nice bright color, the celery is soft, the onions are soft. Add about a cup of stock. And now transfer this mixture to half of the bread. You can just pick this up and pour it right in. Wish you were here, the smells are really good. Now this will soften the bread. Add 2 bunches of parsley. And the parsley should be the flat leaf variety, which is very fragrant and finely chopped. Add the rest of your bread. And you're going to add probably about 5 cups of stock altogether to keep this nice and moist. 2 teaspoons of salt, coarse salt, which I always use, the kosher variety. And add 4 teaspoons of freshly ground black pepper. You can look for telecherry peppercorns, whatever smells really good and fragrant. And now add about 3 more cups of stock to this. Add the stock and keep looking at your bread. You don't want it to be soggy and heavy with stock. All you want it to be is moist and fluffy. There, I've added about, a little bit more than 3 cups, and because this bread was so fresh, I'm not going to add any more. You don't want it to be real soggy. If the bread were stale bread, it would use a little bit more, but this looks great. It's not soggy, it's just, the bread still has a little bit of its shape, and now 2 cups of dried sour cherries, and 1.5 cups of chopped fresh pecans. Now you can taste this and just check for the salt and pepper. Well, cool it off and get it into that bird, because you know what? You can eat this whole bowl just as is. It's so good. But now we'll go to roasting the bird. Well, here's our 20-pounder. It's a fresh-killed turkey. I prefer that to any other kind. And it's been well washed. Now notice I'm using a piece of parchment paper, which I prefer to washing the board. This is makes the cleanup really easy. And this is where you stuff the cavity of the bird. This is where you put your most of the stuffing. You can also put some of the stuffing in the neck cavity, which is right here with this large flap of skin. Also, salt and pepper lightly the neck cavity and the big cavity of the bird. When you're choosing a bird, think about how many guests you're going to have. And my basic rule of thumb is 1 pound of turkey to 1 person. And now a handful of stuffing. Now don't stuff really tightly. You don't want the stuffing to erupt during roasting and crack the skin of the bird or break the ties on the legs. You just really want a nice, light, fluffy filling of stuffing. Smooth it out, and then with toothpicks or a bamboo skewer, pull that neck flap, just affix the neck skin to the under part of the turkey. Notice I'm pulling it tautly, because you want a pretty bird. Now these are the wings, and if you want, turn the turkey over, breast side up, and bend the wing tips underneath the neck cavity. Like that. So you see, they're going to stay like that. Smooth out this portion of the bird and stuff the big cavity. And then your stuffing by the handful again, inserted into the opening. And also, when working with fresh poultry like this, it's a good idea to rinse your hands right after doing the stuffing process, after the washing process. Keep your hands clean. You can mound a little bit more. And see, I have plenty left for a lightly buttered casserole for those people who don't want to eat stuffing that's cooked in the bird. So that'll give at least 8 helpings. Once the cavity is full enough of stuffing, tie the legs up to the tail, and then you're ready to put it in the roasting pan. I use a nice cotton twine, nice strong string, going around the tail once or twice, and then around each drumstick once or twice, pulling so that you create a nice round effect. The plumper looking the bird, I think, the nicer. Now, this is a Bill and Evans turkey. At Thanksgiving time, it might be difficult to find a fresh-killed turkey if you haven't ordered in advance. But if you have a good butcher, like we do here in Westport, several of them, you can find a good turkey. Now, notice I'm tying it in a bow so that after it's roasted, I can just undo the bow and remove the string. So now you're ready to put this bird into the roaster. But first, prepare your roasting pan. I prefer using a nice shallow pan like this. It's about 3 inches deep and large enough to hold the bird comfortably, but not too large. And in the bottom, strew some vegetables. Peeled carrots, 1 onion, peeled and quartered, some parsnip. I love the taste of parsnip. Celery stalk, celery root, and some white turnip. And then place your rack right on top of the vegetables. And your turkey on top of the rack. Before you put this turkey in the oven, take a bit of softened butter and rub it all over the skin. One nice feature of this shallow roasting pan is that it exposes the maximum amount of bird to the dry heat of the oven, and it'll cook that bird really well. Just rub this butter. You can use melted butter if you prefer. 2 or 3 tablespoons will do. And remember, we have our basting liquid of 3 sticks of butter, 3/4 of a pound, to 1 bottle of a nice dry white wine. And then for our final little hint, some of you may already know this, we're going to cover the entire surface of the bird with a quadruple layer of cheesecloth, cotton cheesecloth. The cheesecloth will keep the moisture in the bird, and it will prevent the bird from getting too dark too quickly. Now here's our quadruple layer of cheesecloth. Notice it's quite a nice big piece. Dip this into your butter and wine mixture. Looks like we're doing the laundry, but really we're just going to protect this bird and make the roasting process really successful. Cover the bird with the cheesecloth, covering all the exposed areas. And now it's ready to go into the oven, 450 degrees for 30 minutes. Then you'll reduce the temperature to 350, and you will baste with this mixture every 30 minutes until the turkey registers 180 degrees on a meat thermometer. When the bird has 1 hour left to cook, give or take a few minutes, and this is a 20-pound bird, estimated cooking time approximately 4 hours to 4.5 hours. Take the bird out of the oven, remove the cheesecloth. Oh wow, it's looking very beautiful. Give it one more basting of the hot basting liquid, and put it into the same 350-degree oven 1 more hour. If you notice during the last hour of roasting that either the drumsticks or the breast are getting too dark, just overlay that area with a little piece of aluminum foil. You don't want to cover the whole bird, but this prevents too much darkening. So now back into the oven for 1 more hour, or until your meat thermometer inserted into the thickest part of the leg registers 180 degrees. Oh, it's doing very well. We're almost at 140. And don't forget, baste 1 more time. Well, during the last hour, I did cover the drumsticks and the front of the bird with foil, but boy, does that look good. Lacquery, brown, glistening. A turkey you'll be proud of. And now, you have to let the turkey rest for about 20 minutes to a half hour before you carve it. That gives time for the juices just to settle into the meat. If you cut it while it's really hot, you'll notice a gush of juice. So let it rest, and then, while it's resting, prepare the gravy.
Martha Stewart is sponsored by the makers of Reynolds Aluminum Foil. Reynolds has it all wrapped up.
Her natural talent propelled her to stardom, and along the way she's faced devastating tragedy, but the love and loss have fueled her passion to sing. In her own words, intimate portrait, Reba McEntire.
Tomorrow at 10 p.m. on LifeTime, television for women.
Right before dinner, the last thing you have to do is make the gravy. A lot of people are afraid of gravy, always afraid of not making it taste good. It's going to be lumpy, it's going to be too thick. Well, here's a very fine solution. Remember, we put in the bottom of this pan wonderful roasted vegetables. And what you have here is a lot of the turkey drippings, some of that butter that you've been basting the turkey with, and those vegetables. Pour the juices into a beaker like this, or any tall jar will do. We're going to have to let this settle so we get all the fat out of the liquid. Now what you have to do is put these vegetables through a food mill. You can use a Cuisinart or a blender, but I like the texture that comes out through this Moulinex's Moulin Légumes, it's called, a vegetable mill. It's fitted with the medium strainer. There's some parsnips and celery, onions and carrots, and some celery root, which I really like the taste of. Now whatever's left in the pan, I'm going to add to that 1 cup of Madeira. And put this on the stove, and turn on the heat on high so that the wine reduces to about 1/3 and dissolves the rest of the drippings in the pan. And now pass the vegetables through the food mill by turning and using a little bit of strength. Let's see what's coming through. See, right here, it's just like a strainer. And you have this lovely puree. Now I'm going to add a little bit of our turkey stock. This is the stock we made with the giblets and the neck. So here's our thinned out vegetable puree. Add this right to your pan. Adjusting the heat so that evaporation is taking place. Now you could serve this gravy just like this. You could pass it through a finer strainer and get rid of all little vegetable lumps, or you can thicken it slightly more and to avoid lumps. This is what I do. Take a few tablespoons of regular all-purpose flour and just put the flour into a jar that has a cover, 3 tablespoons. Now, this is a wide-mouth funnel so I don't spill all over the counter. And add about 1 cup of liquid. This is an old-fashioned gravy maker. My mother has their original gravy shaker, and just shake it up. And add this to your gravy. So by shaking the flour with the stock, you've avoided getting a bunch of lumps in your gravy. Oh, it's looking good. And look at how the color has changed. It's lightened up a little bit, looking more like traditional gravy. And don't forget, the last thing, these are those drippings. An awful lot of fat and only about 1/4 of an inch of delicious turkey drippings. So what I'm doing is using a gravy baster, going down to the very bottom and slurping up, removing just what's in the bottom. You can see, look at that dark liquid. Now, if you wish, make it a little bit thinner. You can thin it with the turkey stock. But I like this consistency right now. Turn it off. So pour the gravy through and drain into a bowl. You'll scrape it all out and rub it through the sieve. Well, here we have the gravy, steaming hot, a beautiful, rich color, and very flavorful. I like to have a heated gravy boat ready, something pretty for the table. Reserve any leftover, keep it on the stove. I like to just keep this bowl, a Pyrex bowl, in a simmering pot of water so it stays hot. And now, time to eat. Thanksgiving with all the trimmings after these messages. I love good things, and Martha Stewart Living may be the best thing. Once you've mastered Turkey 101, setting the table is really a cinch. All you need is to remember that it's autumn, that it's harvest, and that it is celebration. This table reflects my rather eclectic style of table setting. The tablecloth is an old linen sheet, old homespun linen. The plates are part of a collection I started years ago when I moved to Turkey Hill Road, a big, plump turkey painted right on the pottery. This year, I made a centerpiece in a pern of American glass, and the bottom is filled with Fuyu persimmons. Very, very sweet. And they're pretty, the color's just right. And in the upper part of the pern, we have tiny little persimmons on the stem and bittersweet berries. The glasses are amethyst and pink glass, and my favorite of all, amethyst candy dishes, made out of depression glass. Big turkey dishes, once they had candy inside. The napkins, I found at a tag sale. They're decorated with baby persimmons. These have someone else's initials, but I can always say they're grandma's. And the flatware, a mixture of flat silver and pearl-handled silver. And the salt and peppers are little pearl dishes that I also found at an antique store. The turkey's waiting. It's time to celebrate the bounty of the season. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you from all of us at Martha Stewart Living. Make your next Christmas truly special with my new hardcover book, Handmade Christmas. 144 pages filled with award-winning photography, beautiful illustrations, and easy-to-follow instructions. Handmade Christmas shows you how to make your own beeswax candles, cookie boxes, topiaries, and lots more. And what could be more personal than handmade gift wrap?
Order Handmade Christmas today for just 4 monthly installments of $5.99 each.
My Handmade Christmas book. It's a jolly good thing.
Make this
Great home ideas are coming your way from Martha Stewart. Watch her for some unexpected and very useful gardening and cooking tips on the next Martha Stewart Living.